Good evening and welcome. You're watching Breaking Views with me, Sanket Upadhyay, a show where we get you all the views so that you get the complete picture. Now, the story that we are tracking today is that a lot of Indians are surrendering the Indian passport. Let's take a look at the numbers one by one. So, in 2021, 1,63,370 Indians renounced, that's the official word, their passport. That means they ceased to be Indian citizens, they became citizens of other countries. This figure in 2020 was 85,256, that was Corona year. In 2019, it was 1,44,017. So you can see that the number of people who were leaving ahead of COVID was 1,44,017. In the COVID year, it reduced because of COVID. And I guess it was some sort of a backlog, as the government says, or an increase that you see with an increase in 2021. We are yet to see the figures of 22. It will come in when the year ends. Now, this is all information that the government has provided in the Lok Sabha. But where are they going? Record number of Indians have applied to give up citizenship. For which country? So in the United States, a bulk of these people last year in 2021 went to the United States, 78,284. Then to Australia, 23,500. Canada, around 21,000. The United Kingdom, around 14,000. About 5,900 went to Italy, 2,600 to New Zealand, 2,500 to Singapore. All of this is government information. Now, what's the explanation why this is happening? So the Minister of State for Home, Mr. Nityanand Rai, says the reasons for these Indians renouncing their citizenship, which also means they have to surrender their Indian passport, was personal to them. The reason given was personal reasons. Now, this is where there is a bit of a dispute where politically the Congress party says that what could explain those personal reasons that high net worth Indians do not want to be in this country, and there is a year-on-year growth if you remove 2020, of course, in these number of Indians leaving. Why are Indians doing Bharat Chhod? And then you juxtapose this with the news coming in of the world's most powerful passports, where India has slipped to the 87th place with access to 60 countries. We were the 83rd in 2020. Japan ranks number 1 with access to 193 countries. Singapore, South Korea rank number 2 with entry to 192. Among other top ranked countries are EU nations, US, UK. Pakistan has one of the least powerful passports, ranked at 109. So we are at 87. This is research provided by Henley and Partners Research Department. So the question that we are asking on this show, why are more Indians giving up their citizenship? Let's quickly put this to a discussion. Rajat Sethi is a political analyst. Supriya Shenate, national spokesperson of the Congress party. Ambassador Manju Seth is a former diplomat, has experience in dealing with citizenship and diaspora issues in the Ministry of External Affairs. So a very important and significant guest to explain what is happening and put things in perspective. Jasmine Shah, spokesperson of the Aam Aadmi Party, and Sukhpreet Singh, leader of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Thank you very much. Let's first begin with you, Rajat Sethi, and I want to ask you, why?
See, there can be multiple reasons for this. I personally feel that there has been a backlog on the US side specifically. The Republicans had largely reduced the immigrant applications for citizenship, and there was a huge backlog which I think the Democrats are cleaning up. That's one reason. Second important reason is that a lot of countries in the West have gone through reforms in their immigration policies. Australia and Canada being two, and UK, by the way, they've also joined the list, who have come out with a point-based system to basically streamline human resource coming to that country. Now, I am sitting an example. Jasmine is also sitting. Both of us left US, left our lucrative jobs and came back to India. So you will see that there will be people who would be going for personal reasons that was mentioned, and jobs is one of the personal reasons why they go. They apply for for citizenship outside into various countries in the West. And a lot of them end up renouncing Indian citizenship because India does not allow for a dual citizenship scenario. So the only way they can do that is through this way. But over the past 5, 6, 7 years, when the startup scene in India has really picked up, we see lots and lots of diasporas coming in. I can tell you so many of my batchmates, both from IIT and MIT, who were out there in the US, have actually come back into India and are opening
if only
up
we
ventures
had
here.
the number of people who have come back and
so it's a partial
taken,
data, Sanketji.
Applied again for Indian citizenship. We don't have that data to be able to.
So it's a partial
conclusively
data,
prove.
and that data also doesn't compare historically over the past 10, 20 years. How has the trend been? But I can tell you that the US, especially in this inflation, we've seen that unemployment numbers were so low that they were waiting for people from outside to come in and fill in those spots. So they went in easy.
No, see, the argument that will be made is that for the past 8 years, when claims were made that there will be a startup boom, there will be a jobs boom, there will be generally, an uptick in the economy, then it should directly reflect in these indices. No, then people should not feel the need to give up their citizenship.
So what are you comparing, Sanketji? It's not an apple-to-apple comparison what you're doing. You're just quoting an isolated number of 1.5 lakh people. That's it. You're not saying how many people who are not applying for H1B.
No, you forget 2021. Let's take 2015 to 2021 data. This figure is close to 9.5 lakhs.
As I said, see, in 2016 to 2020, we had a Republican government which was very, very strict around citizenship. Also, 60 to 65% of these applicants who are leaving India are actually going to the US. This has primarily happened because the Democrats are relatively more lenient in terms of avoiding citizenship.
Sure.
Plus immigration reforms that have happened in Canada, Australia, and UK.
Supriya Shinate, how do you view this? Your mic is on mute, Supriya.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I said, let us first view it from an angle which an average Indian should see. Valmiki's Ramayana says, Janani Janma Bhumischa Garyadapi Varyasi. So I want to understand first from the BJP government that Bharat to aisa desh tha jahan par dev avtarit hote the. Why have 9.23 lakh people quit this country and gone overseas, renouncing their citizenship? It's one thing to go for greener pastures. It's one thing to renounce your citizenship. In the last 7 years, 361 people on an average every day have relinquished their Indian passport. But what is surprising is, let's not just get caught in the US Democrat versus Republicans and who's more lenient. There are 352, if I'm not wrong. In fact, 362 people in China, Indians in China, who've given up their Indian passport. What explains that? If you actually turn back and see what is happening in this country, first people go for, better skills, better talent, wherever the greener pastures are. But why are high net worth individuals leaving this country? Juxtapose those numbers and that gives you an answer. High net worth individuals are quitting this country.
Supriya, if I may, a just comparison will be to compare how many left during the UPA regime or the past, 2004 to 2014 and then 2014 to 2022.
Fair point. But even if you compare, this is a much steeper number of people leaving. And if you juxtapose high net worth individuals leaving, it explains to you the picture. If you have an outlet to leave this country today, people are preferring to relinquish their Indian citizenship because of two reasons. First, a completely ruined economy that does not give you the ecosystem to grow professionally or any prosperity possibilities in the future. And second, the kind of polarized atmosphere this country is seeing. So a lot of people prefer to settle overseas. You look at business houses after business houses. No, I don't think that's a personal reason. I think anybody who cites personal reasons is perhaps looking the other way and not looking at the problem. The problem is, if you look at the top 10 business houses of India, promoter-owned, their second generation is all settling overseas. They're all investing overseas. They're not investing in India. You look at 10 top business houses, that's the data. Their second generation has moved overseas, is investing overseas. Their fresh investments are happening overseas. Why is that so? I mean, somebody somebody has to talk about the social strife in this country and why people believe this will explode. The situation is going to implode, and which is why people believe they're safer off in other countries. Nothing else explains 1.63 lakh Indians giving up their passport in a single year, and the government believes these are personal reasons to even cite personal
And backlog.
reasons of the house. I mean, what are we talking about?
No, the government says personal reasons and also backlog from 2020. That's the explanation.
So what explains 1.3 lakh in 2017? What explains 1.35 lakh in 2018? I mean, turn the clock back, yeah. I can understand the backlog in 2021 from 2019 to 20 because 85,000 went in 2019. That's when Corona struck, people couldn't go. The moment it opened, people started going. And even before that, 1.33 lakh in 2017.
Okay, quick comments from Mr. Sukhpreet Singh and Jasmine Shah. And then I'll come to you, Manju Singh. I'll give you the last word.
मैं संकेत की बात को बड़ा करता हूँ जो ये बात कह रही है, लेकिन फैक्ट्स पे जाना पड़ेगा। कांग्रेस रूल्ड पंजाब सबसे ज्यादा रीजन रहा है वहां से मूवमेंट का। वहां पंजाब में बीजेपी गवर्नमेंट नहीं है, पहले इनको ये देखना पड़ेगा। चलो शुक्र है परमात्मा का कि आज ये संस्कृत के श्लोक इनको याद होने लग गए हैं, क्योंकि लोगों ने इनके मन में डाला है कि आपको हिंदू और हिंदुस्तानी अपने मन में रखनी पड़ेगी। मैडम दूसरी चीज, आप प्लीज, मैं रजत जी से बिल्कुल सहमत हूँ। आप जो बात बोल रही मैडम, आपको पता है कि केरला से आप पहले इसकी कैलकुलेशन भी निकालेंगी ना मैम, कितने बीजेपी स्टेट से लोग जा रहे हैं और कितने केरला से जा रहे हैं, कितने पंजाब से जा रहे हैं। ये चीजें आप लोग
नहीं, मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा। सुखप्रीत जी
का जो आपका
सुखप्रीत जी, यू आर सेइंग
जो आपने लोगों के लिए नहीं किया,
you have divided it on
जो बैकलॉग है।
One moment, you have divided it on the grounds of states.
Yes,
one by one.
We have to because इनके जो पंजाब की स्टेट्स के इनके जो आप देखेंगे मेजरली केरला से लोग जाते हैं बाहर, मेजरली पंजाब से बाहर गए हैं जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ देयर पॉलिसीज। इन्होंने हिंदुस्तान में कुछ अच्छी पॉलिसीज करी नहीं है।
You know, I would urge the Ministry of Home Affairs to give us this data. See, frankly, I don't know why you are saying this. I have no information from the Ministry of Home Affairs on how a majority of these people are from Punjab and Kerala.
Yes, पूरा पंजाब खाली हो चुका है सर, विक्टिम उस चीज का।
Law and order is divided on state lines. So why is Sukhpreet ji's point wrong? It's absolutely right.
No, which point is right? Which point is right?
खाली हो चुका है मैडम, आप लोगों की पॉलिसीज के कारण पंजाब खाली।
One by one, please. One by one.
आज लोग, आप आउट ऑफ इंडिया जाइए, लोग ट्रस्ट कर रहे हैं मोदी जी पे, उनको मोदी जी के विजन नजर आ रहे हैं। लोग आज जो मोदी जी वहां जाते हैं, उनका जो हर रोज की जो उनकी पब्लिसिटी है, वहां से आपको पता लग जाएगा।
By the way, one moment, Sukhpreet Singh and Supriya, one moment.
जी,
one moment. Let me come in here.
आपकी मैडम पॉलिसीज ने
Let's try to understand this problem well before we launch into a political slugfest. Jasmine Shah, you see, in 2021, if 1.63 lakh people have renounced their citizenship and surrendered their passport, given that usually there is a 5-year window that you go somewhere and then you have to stay there for 5 years and then apply for, citizenship of some other country, which means that if you rewind 5 years, then too, it was this very dispensation only. So, I mean, if we were to break this further down to, state governments, states' responsibility, and that being the reason, I don't know. I mean, how should one view the way this is happening?
Sankit,
and what needs to be
your
done?
Own country.
Let's look forward. Or are we to expect in 2022 this will become more?
Sankit, give me a minute. Everybody has spoken, and the point you make is very relevant. See, leaving your own country is never an easy decision.
Yeah.
If it was about a state issue, tell me, is it easy? Is it not easier to move from Punjab to Delhi versus moving from Punjab to Canada or America? You think it's so easy to get a citizenship there? So it's a complete nonsense reason. I would like to state 2 facts. This trend of Indians living abroad has been increasing since 2014. If the numbers with me are right, the numbers then were around 1.1 lakh, it became 1.3, 1.35, and now it's reached 1.6. Let me state another fact. You know who are the other 2 top nations in the world from where people are leaving en masse? We are at number 2. Number 1 is China. Number 2 is India. Number 3 is Russia. just think about the company we are in at the international level. These are countries where civil liberties are under a deep threat. And the people, and Saket, I'm not just looking at number. I have tens of my own friends over the last few years and these are the well-to-do people, very successful startups, almost unicorns. The moment they are able to get out of India, they're leaving India. And the reason is very clear. Civil liberties in India today are under a deep attack. We know that, in the national capital in 2020, riots could happen in broad daylight.
Of many people
let me just make the point.
Coming back.
Let me just make the point that, riots can happen in...
Even this year, number would be much higher.
A CM's house in Delhi can get attacked and nobody is held to account. Riots are happening, nobody is held to account. In the World Press Freedom Index, India has reached to 150, which is lowest ever. Women are the most unsafe that they have ever been. Nothing is happening on pollution. Top 20 out of the most 25 polluted cities in the world are in India. What do you expect rich Indians to do? The government, the BJP government under Modi has singularly failed. It has put us in the company of China and Russia. And you are saying that our desh ka gaurav bahan badh raha hai.
My only request over here is that, it is very easy to construe this as an India bashing debate. And Manju said, it's a very tricky situation when you debate on a subject like this on Indians renouncing citizenship. The point very clearly is that obviously the purpose of this debate is to, first of all acknowledge that yes, as a country we may have some certain problems, but it can get better. Things can get better. We can turn this around. If there is a good environment, if there is ease of doing business, better standard of living, we can very much reverse this trend. But that's not happening right now. Manju said, what is your reading of the way things are happening? Ambassador said, if you could unmute yourself, ma'am.
Two things that I'd like to point out. One is that immigration from India has been going on for very, very many years. Numbers may be increasing. I think there are one or two reasons for that. As you mentioned, ease of business is an issue in India. The tax rates are very high. And that is a major reason why the HNIs are wanting to leave India and invest and diversify their...
HNI for...
No. Pardon?
HNI would mean high net worth Indians.
High net worth individuals,
okay.
yes.
Individuals.
Okay.
So
individuals.
So they would like to invest outside it. So they establish their entities in many tax haven sort of countries where they can, grow their wealth and they can, have it safe. And the very high taxation rates in India, I think, are a deterrent. But at the same time, many of the, as mentioned, there are many many foreigners, or I should say of Indian origin, coming back. Many PIOs are coming back to India and investing it because also the other advantage that they have, of course, travel advantage is a big advantage if they live in the US or if they get citizenship of a foreign country, they can travel to many countries visa-free. The other thing is that they get an OCI card. So they can live in India as an Indian. They get the same facilities. The only bar or the only exception is that they can't invest in agricultural land. Otherwise, they can conduct their businesses here. They can have everything here. And that a large number of people are doing. Many of these HNIs are doing that. They are living here. As somebody just mentioned, I don't remember, the panelist said that they give up, the children are of HNIs or big industrial houses are wanting to live abroad. But I think this lure of, education abroad and living abroad, better conditions of living, ease of business, these are all sort of incentives for people to go abroad. And it's been going away for very long. It's going on for very long. The numbers may be going up and down. I don't deny
No, they're not going down. They only went down during COVID.
During COVID, whatever it is. But in general, there's always been this trend for Indians to move abroad if they can. And now since they have the wealth, they have the money, because many of these countries are giving citizenship in, say, 4 to 5 months if you make a certain investment. Not every country says 5 years.
No, is that for this very personal reason, or the point that Jasmine Shah is making?
There may be some. I don't think this is a general reason that this has become very unsafe for everybody here. I don't think that is completely true.
Okay.
For some, there would be some who would go away for that reason. Okay. The majority, I think, would go away for their personal reasons, that it's a better environment, better investment, ease of travel, ease of doing business.
Sure. I also have at this moment Ms. Micah Emmett, Chief Executive Officer of CS Global Partners. Thank you very much, Ms. Emmett. I'm sure you must have seen this information that the Indian government has shared with the people, with Parliament, that more Indians have surrendered their passport this time than the previous years. Do you see this as an abnormality, or is this a normal trend, and how do you look at this?
Certainly, this is quite interesting information, and we've seen that in India in particular, there is a growing number of people who are looking at second citizenship. Of course, as was rightly noted earlier, as an Indian national, you cannot hold dual citizenship. So people are surrendering their passports, their Indian nationality. But I must note that from a global perspective, that's not anything new. Where there are countries that do not allow dual citizenship, many individuals are seeking the opportunity to get citizenship from another country, because it gives them more leverage to be more global. And we've seen that in the US over the last 15 years, where the number of renunciations increases year on year. This is certainly not a new trend. But what's interesting, I think, post-COVID and post the pandemic, globally, especially the young people, they're looking to diversify, expand, and have more opportunity out there. So it's not necessarily about no longer being an Indian national, it's about being a global citizen.
Okay. Now, there's a very important point that Ms. Emmett said, and it was brought up through the course of this discussion also. Rajat Sethi, let me ask you this question. Why do we not consider dual citizenship? I mean, what are the pitfalls? What is the problem? You also mentioned this fact, that this is a problem because of which people have to surrender their passport. See, we have got PIO, we have got a, OCI card, but why not dual citizenship? Just for my understanding.
I think that's a fair point, and I think it's an important policy topic as well to deliberate upon.
Because, I remember in the UPA regime, Dr. Manmohan Singh had moved a proposal of allowing NRIs the right to vote. Right? I don't know what happened to that, Supriya, but my point is, if we want, if we want to give NRIs the right to vote, then why can't we consider as a policy decision dual citizenship?
Well, in my view,
so
I think, Sanket, we need to keep in mind that what would be the reaction of such a policy? Would there be an absolute exodus of applicants going out and trying every other country that exists out there? I mean, you need to do it in a more sort of a planned out way. There are the OCI and the PIO card system, which allows them maximum amount of things that one can do as a citizen in terms of owning property, investing, all of those things.
But then the provisions do.
Can I please come in?
The provisions do force people to renounce their citizenship. Yeah, Supriya first, and then Ms. Manju said.
I think on the larger point of dual citizenship, there needs to be a larger debate. I think within the House, there needs to be a larger meeting of minds with stakeholders, and particularly the political class, and I think civil society and everybody else. I think that's a debate for another day. But I just want to say, if you were to believe the BJP and its spokespersons and the government, they have made a new India, and the Amrit Kal should be so good that nobody should be giving up their passport. But that trend is steeply going up. So at some point in time, the government has to sit back and take notice, and Nityanand Rai can't get away by saying for personal reasons. As a Home Minister, should I be telling the House, I think 9.23 lakh people have gone for personal reasons, and the graph is regularly growing up. You look at the high net worth individuals, you look at Indians, you look at the kind of polarized, communally tensed atmosphere India is witnessing. There are people who don't think and don't feel very safe here. So, and I think the BJP supporter himself said that there could be an exodus. Why would there be an exodus? If there were to be dual citizenship, why is there a fear of exodus?
Okay, because quick right to reply to Mr. Sukhpreet.
हिंदुस्तान से खत्म होती कांग्रेस को ना आज हमारे लोगों की सिटीजनशिप की याद आ रही है. प्रॉब्लम इनकी पॉलिसीज में थी, जो आज इनकी पॉलिसीज के कारण मोस्ट ऑफ
आप
इंडियन
अच्छी
सिटीजन
पॉलिसी
हैव
बना के
गॉन।
रोक लीजिए ना लोगों को।
आप
सुप्रीत जी, अब तो आपकी गवर्नमेंट आ गई ना, यू आर इन पावर फॉर द पास्ट 8 years.
सर जो 5 साल बाद आपको मिलती है सिटीजनशिप,
One by one, please.
बड़ी कंट्री है,
Ladies and gentlemen,
अभी
one by one,
प्रॉब्लम
please.
इनकी पॉलिसीज में अभी भी आप डाटा, संकेत आई विल डेफिनेटली आई वांट फ्रॉम यू कि आप गृह मंत्री से ये डाटा लीजिए कि कितनी स्टेट बीजेपी रूल स्टेट से ये हो रहा है, इनका मोस्ट ऑफ डाटा।
No, but then you were just somebody answered that question. If there is a state which is a problem, if a state is a problem, then somebody will move to another state, not give up citizenship.
आप देखिए ना, सारा पंजाब खाली हो गया इनकी वजह से, इनकी पॉलिसीज की वजह से पूरा पंजाब खाली कर चुके हैं हम। आप देखिएगा, अगर आप डाटा भी निकालेंगे ना, रफली डाटा भी होगा, तो इस 163 में आपको
Okay, one moment. The Congress was in power till it came to power in 2017. Before that, there was a Shiromani Akali Dal and BJP government. By that logic, you are responsible.
तब वापस आ रहे थे। आप वहां पर रहने वाले लोगों को पाकिस्तानी और खालिस्तानी कहिएगा, और वो लोग रहते
आप
रहेंगे।
देखिए, इन्होंने पॉलिसीज ऐसी बना रखी है।
See,
इन्होंने
migration of Indians from the state of Punjab and them giving up their citizenship is not begun in 2017.
I would like to make a
आप इनको मोस्ट ऑफ टाइम यही रहे हैं सर।
Okay. Quick closing comments. Ambassador Manju said, yes.
70 साल के राज
Miss Emmett also wants to come in. Miss Emmett, do you think a lot of these problems can be resolved if at a policy level? One moment. Only Miss Emmett on the screen, please. Miss Emmett, do you feel, Miss Emmett, that we can change this trend? We can change this trend by introducing a policy change and introducing dual citizenship. I know it's a very, very big subject matter of discussion, but could that bring about a positive change?
Well, as you said, it is policy within the country that decides the rules. However, there is a growing global policy around the world, especially with developed countries, where they've realized that they need to have dual citizenship in order to be competitive on the global market. If you remain and you try and keep everyone controlled and locked up, you will see such huge numbers of renunciations of citizenship. Whereas you want to be able to retain that, those skills, that income within your country. So if you give some leverage and you allow people to have the dual citizenship, you really are letting them have the best of both worlds, but you also as a government are not losing out on those valuable people. And we've definitely... Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I'm running out of time, Ms. Emmett, but I think you made a very, very important intervention. Maybe that's food for thought as we go along. The Parliament is in session. It's never too late to start talking about it. Well, thank you very much for joining us. I believe that this was a very, very significant discussion to have had. Thank you very much. We'll carry out this discussion further and perhaps get that state-wise breakup also, which Mr. Sukhpreet Singh was talking about. Good night and good night.